Hey friends, welcome. Um, Thanks for joining us. My name is Carrie. I'm the Associate Executive Director. Ryan and his amazing family are on their last summer break trip in Huntington Beach, California. So they are tuning in from online so we can all wave and say, hi, Ryan. Hi, Tammy. Everyone's waving in case you can't see that. But he works so hard around here. It's nice that he gets those vacations with his family before school starts. So thanks for bearing with me and having me run the show tonight. So appreciate you guys being here. For those of you who are new, this is Free Recovery Community. This is a community for addicts, loved one of addicts, and spiritual refugees. Each week together, we do absolutely, there's one thing that we do not do. I'm going to ask for your help. If you do not know what that is, you're going to learn pretty quickly because it'll be up on the screen. But the one thing that we do not do here every week, again, shout it out on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame. But we do a lot of amazing things here. So if you are new, just after service, I would love for you guys to come and meet one of the volunteers. We have Candace. I know we have David and Erica. There's a bunch of volunteers tonight who would love to get you connected with one of the welcome bags. Inside the welcome bags, you'll find some fresh roasted wagon coffee. It's the same coffee we serve in the cafe. As well as some free swag and a meeting schedule. If you flip that meeting schedule over, you're going to see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, you'll get connected to all the different things that we do. You can get our app on there. You can watch past sermons on there and guest storytellers. And you can sign up for our newsletter. And if you're on our newsletter, you'll know all the different events that we have going on and each week who our guest storyteller is. So get connected, and if you're interested in volunteering, that link will get you set up there too. For example, we have a really fun event coming. It's on August 20th. It's here in this room. We are doing a Family Feud-like night. We cannot use the name actual Family Feud because of copyright reasons, but we are going to host a game show night. This time you do not have to come with your family of origin, so for some of you that's a breath of relief, but you can come with your friends, you can come by yourself, and we can get you connected with groups of 5. Ben Michaels, he was our guest storyteller a couple months back. He is a professional corporate entertainer. He's hilarious, and he's going to orchestrate the whole entire evening. It's free to attend. You do not have to register, but you can just show up. We'll get you connected on a team. It's a great way to meet people, have some fun, and play a game. So that's always fun. That was it. And the way we get started each week is with celebrations. So if there's something new you're celebrating, maybe it's your kids going back to school, maybe you got a new job, new house, a sobriety birthday, we're going to take 3 minutes. I have asked, she doesn't know this yet, but I have asked Mark and Nicole. They are going to pass around the mics. All you got to do is raise your hand, and they will pass them out. But if you are watching online, you can drop your comments in the chat. But we take 3 minutes, and so just raise up and celebrate. This time is yours. Thanks, friends.
Carrie, I'll go first. On Monday, I celebrated 11 years of sobriety.
She's looking at me, so I'll go second. On the 27th, I married my best friend. And I also celebrated a birthday on my wedding day, 6 years.
My name is Weston, and I just moved both into a new home and a photography studio, and so just like new chapter, new things coming up. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm celebrating 925 days sober today.
My name is Kathy, and on the 21st of August, we are, I am facilitating a new group here at Free for domestic abuse, violence and abuse survivors. So at 1:30 on the third Friday of every month.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm an alcoholic, and I celebrated 3 years sober from alcohol on the 5th.
Well done. Well, I'm Mark, and my parents celebrated 60 years of their 60th wedding anniversary in July. So they just celebrated that. Pretty awesome. It's a good start.
I'm Candace, and I celebrated 90 days. I have so much good news. I haven't been here in 2 weeks. But 90 days I celebrated. I got a new job, and
Woo-hoo.
I lost my puppy this morning, but I found her.
Yay.
So, yeah.
I'm Aubrey, and I got 60 days this past Sunday.
Well done. Awesome. All right.
You're up here with me.
It just keeps getting better and
You
better.
know I love you.
Voluntold by my sponsor.
You know I love you. We are going to, if we have them online, we're going to have to turn around because the screen is out. Maybe completely out. Do we have any online celebrations? But we can't read them, friends.
Hey, but guess what? I know how to be mobile. Here I come.
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna read them from back here.
Aw, I like how smart you are, Nicole.
Okay, the first one is Evan Goy, and it's 140 days sober, and Wagon Coffee is excellent.
Aw.
The next one is Monty. My grandson got a new job. Please keep him in your prayers for success.
Aw, thanks for joining us, Monty. We miss you.
Mike Anderson says, very grateful to be able to buy 2 of my grandchildren's school clothes for this year, all because of sobriety. I couldn't always buy my kids things because of my addiction, but my grandchildren have never seen me drunk or high.
Oh, it's amazing.
KC says, my name is KC, and I just passed my final to become a CNA, and I just celebrated 6 months of sobriety.
Was that it, Nicole?
Yes, ma'am.
I love how, again, thanks for pivoting, friend. I'll take that from you. I have no idea, friends, if this is going to work or not, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it is and hope for the best. But we are in the middle of a series called How Are You Really Doing? But before we do that, I'll show you a little promo, but before hopefully it works. If not, we're just going to roll with it. But tonight, one of the great benefits when Ryan is not here is we do get to have different voices come and share with us. Tonight, we have our resident teaching pastor. He's visiting us from Memphis. Some of you may remember him. You can check out his past stuff also on the app if you guys download the app. But while we hopefully watch this video, will you help me welcome Dr. Corey Latta?
Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. Good to be here as always. It's a privilege, it's an honor. I'm excited to be here and to talk about what we're talking about. I always, almost every time, start these sermons with me saying I'm picking something that I struggle with. This is no exception. This particular topic comes from 3 sources, okay? So I'm sort of titled it, I Can't Find You in Your Story. And it comes from 3 places. One, it comes from a conversation I had with my therapist. One time I was doing work with him, and my background, just a little bit about me, if you don't know, my background, I'm a therapist, but my background's in ministry, but it's also in higher education. So I've taught English and literature and writing for a long time. And I was in a session with him, and he had this little stuffed gorilla that represented little Corey, like little boy Corey. And I just was talking and going on and probably nonsense and evading all the real work, right? And he finally just stops me. He goes, well, hold on. And he takes this little gorilla and he sets him on the floor and he stacks a bunch of books in front of the little gorilla. Dude. I am coming to believe that I've got some sort of aura or something like that. Every time, like one time the mic was popping and had to turn it off. It's just a thing. Okay. He stacked these books. He stacked these books so high that I couldn't see the gorilla anymore. And remember, this little gorilla represented like little me. And I just was dumbfounded as to what he was doing. And I finally got to the point where I don't know, the book's like this tall. And he goes, that's what's going on right now. You're talking, but I can't find you. Like you're hiding behind all this intellectualization and you're talking about your life, but I can't find you in it. That's the first place this talk tonight comes from. Second place is I've got a very good friend. We talk all the time. One of the few people that I feel very sort of safe to just really talk about the painful and vulnerable parts of my life. And we'll just sort of share stories back and forth about whatever it is we're going through. And one time, she was talking about something, and I just found myself hearing her, you've probably heard this phrase before, talk about your life without talking about your life. You ever hear that? Talking about her life, and I just responded and said, I hear what's happening around you, but I can't find you in it. Like I hear you say this is going on and that's going on, and this, but where are you in that? And that sort of dynamic just kind of stuck with me. And the third place is in my therapeutic work, and in my work in ministry, there is a universal trait that I have seen over and over and over again. I think it's probably the bedrock of all work, like all work on oneself, recovery included, has to contend with this, and it's the inability to know what's going on inside of us. Like the inability to actually know what's going on in us. So that's where this is coming from. Back to that phrase, we're fond of talking about our lives without talking about our lives. We're fond of telling our stories. We're fond of hiding. We're fond of sort of putting on masks like the video dramatized. We're fond of complaining or sort of saying this person did this or this situation is thus, but we are very, very hard-pressed oftentimes to know where we are in our lives and what's going on in us as our lives are taking place. So there's a few questions I'm going to ask tonight. One is, what's going on in you beyond what's going on? Like, what's really happening in you? Let's see, Matthew, if that slide works, hopefully. Okay, here we go. So here's how I encounter most people initially, before there's ever any self-awareness, before there's ever any process of growth. And by the way, I always sort of integrate emotional health and spiritual health because I think they're, you can't separate them. I think they're so intertwined. Like, I've never met a person who's spiritually healthy who is emotionally unhealthy. I don't think that exists. Spiritual growth and emotional health, they cannot be parsed out. Lots of times, though, before we've actually done any real work, if I were to say what's going on in you in any given situation, here's the answer. You kind of have to kick up to another question. What was going on in them? Now, who do you think the them is in this situation? Like, if you just know what you know about therapy. Little one, but it's the little one in your family of origin. So here's what by default is going on in you if you've not done work on yourself. What's going on in you if you haven't done work on yourself is whatever was going on with mom and dad. Like we just are conduits of their dysfunction, their disconnection, their addiction, their spiritual immaturity, their abuse, their neglect, whatever was going on in them, until we understand how it impacted us. I guarantee you it's showing up in how you show up. It's what's going on in you. Here's an example. If you had a dad who raged or just sort of shut you out, worked all the time, was never around, emotionally disconnected, guess what? Unless you've done work on yourself, what's going to show up in you is some version or shade of that. So whatever's going on in you first started with what was going on in them. If you had a mom that was very, very anxious and sort of helicoptered over you, or maybe another mom who parentified you, when you find yourself in a relationship, you're either going to replicate what you saw, or at some point you said, I'm never going to be like that, and you're going to kind of codependently say, I'm going to go this other direction, which is really still a response, a codependent response to how you're raised, and you're going to try to be the opposite of that, right? Whatever that is that's going on in you, it started with what was going on in them. So what's going on in me oftentimes, if I'm not aware, is really whatever was going on in them. And then here's what happens. If I haven't done work on myself and I haven't stopped to figure out where I'm at in my story, what's happening in me in any given circumstance, whatever's going on in me is then going to be based on whatever's going on in you. Meaning I'm going to show up in your life the way I had to show up for mom and dad, or the way that I was sort of patterned. We come into the world like this. We come into the world sort of like a kid, ta-da! Like we're just, ask a 4 or 5-year-old about shame. Or ask them who they want to be when they grow up. There's no shame. There's no sin. Unless there's been some kind of abuse or trauma that early. There's just this unashamed sense of being in the world, just this sort of pride in who they are. Ask a 4 or 5-year-old, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'll say an astronaut, right? And there's no doubt that they can do that. We're just like, here we are. Like my little guy with Down syndrome, he's now 10. Emotionally, mentally, he's much younger. That kid would walk in here right now and turn a cartwheel. Like he has no sense of shame. He's just proud to be, just exist, right? This is all of us. Until life. Until you got body shamed at school, or you got picked on, or you got excluded. Until mom said you're too much, or dad wasn't there to really connect with you. And then we go from this to having to sort of fit into the contours and cracks of our relationships. And if you don't stop to figure out where you are and what's going on with you, guess what you end up doing in your romantic relationship? And in your job, and then with your kids when you have them. Whatever is going on you and in you is going to be dependent on what's going on in them, because we've not gained ourselves. We don't even know what's going on in us to gain. Okay, so what's going on in us is dependent on what was going on in mom and dad, and if we've not done the work, it's going to be dependent on what's going on in our relationships. So, how do we figure it out? Like, how do we figure out where I'm at in my story? How do I sort of ask myself in honesty what's really going on? Where am I? It's one of the primary questions in Scripture. God asked Adam and Eve in Genesis 3 after the fall is taking place, and he knows the answer to this question, right? He asked Adam and Eve once they're in their shame, where are you? It's not a geographic question. He's not playing hide and seek with them. He wants to know, where are you? Like, what's happening in you? We're going to look at a text here in a second that also demonstrates this. Okay, I say all that as setup. So I'm going to give you a crash course in being able to find yourself, being able to locate yourself, to answer the question, where am I? And to answer the question authentically and honestly, what's going on in me? So I'm going to introduce you to something called the 8 feelings. It's 8 sort of core feelings. There we go. Why 8? I don't know. It's like, why are there however many primary colors there are? There just are. You could make the argument that all other feelings and expressions come down to these 8. Now, forget the gifts and impairments for a second. Just look at this mid-list here, like this column in the middle. Anything jump out when you look at these? Okay, someone just said it. There's one positive. That's actually not true. They don't feel good necessarily, but they're not bad. Feelings are just neutral. They're like your nervous system or your ability to rationalize, or your sort of, they just are what they are. It's what we do with them that, makes them sort of, bad or good. Okay, here's my contention. If you can't say at any given time what's going on in you emotionally, there's no way to know what needs to happen spiritually or relationally. It all starts with what it is we're feeling. When God asked the question of Adam and Eve, he's not asking a theological, overly spiritual question. He's really asking a very simple question. Where are you in your shame? They know they feel shame, but can they put a name to it? God's going to ask Cain in the very next chapter in Genesis, after he's killed his brother, like, what have you done? God knows the answer, but does Cain know the answer? Self-awareness and self-knowledge, what's going on in you really starts with what's happening emotionally. So I'm going to give you a crash course on what these 8 feelings are. Okay, as I'm talking about this, I want you to think about yourself, your primary relationships, think about your family of origin, think about mom and dad, and think about which of these really hit. There's some of these when I often use this list to kind of check in with myself. At any given time, it's taken a long time to do this. At any given time, I can pretty much name what I'm feeling. Like if I were being honest right here in this moment, I've got gladness to be here. I have a little sadness. There's a loved one in my life who's dying right now, back home, a cousin. I've got some shame for some ways I need to connect to the kids and I don't feel like I'm doing well enough, and that's kind of where I'm at. But it's taken me a long time to be able to name that, okay? So think about which one of these light you up and how it is you express these things. Now notice, there are gifts and impairments to each. They're neutral. It's what we do with them that makes them healthy or unhealthy. Here's what, in no particular order, hurt. Here's what hurt looks like when it's unhealthy, when you've not known how to own it and express it. It looks like resentment. When hurt's not addressed, when it's not talked about, it becomes resentment. In recovery, we know a thing or two about resentments, yeah? All resentment is hurt that's not been spoken, not been dealt with, not been faced. But there's a gift to hurt. If I can feel my hurt and come to you and say, what that thing you said or that thing you did or that thing you did not, that hurt me, then I've got the opportunity at least to heal, right? We can sort of do business together. There's another gift in hurt, courage. It's freaking hard to go to a loved one and say, you hurt me. If you've ever confronted your mom or your dad or your partner with something that hurt you years ago, you know it takes courage. There's this exercise and building of courage, but it's all dependent on actually being able to tell the truth about your hurt. You have to be able to say, ouch. That's a vulnerable thing. Loneliness. What's one of my favorite ones to talk about? Loneliness is our mechanism for relationship. When I feel lonely, and you can be lonely for anything. You can be lonely for a person. You can be lonely for a place. You can be lonely for God. You can be lonely for yourself. Like if you're an introvert like me, I sort of get lonely for myself. When I feel loneliness, it is the trigger for intimacy. I can reach out to you and say, hey, what are you doing? You want to hang out? Been missing you. Now, what can happen when I express that loneliness, that desire to be with you, is you can shut me down. You can put me off. I may really want to be a part of a community, and I just don't feel like I belong. I may really want this relationship to work, and for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like it's reciprocal. Loneliness, when not processed, when you're not honest about it, it becomes apathy. If I keep texting you, asking you to be with me, and you keep telling me no, am I going to keep texting? At some point, I'm like, forget it. I'm going to take my ball and go home. A lot of us will feel this with God, right? We've prayed. We've looked for his hand in our life. We don't see it, and we just sort of shut down, become apathetic toward God. We become apathetic toward those around us. But loneliness, if you listen to it, invites and can create intimacy. Let's say I want to be with you, and you say, oh my gosh, I miss you too. Then we can be together. I could be lonely for myself, connect with myself, and experience intimacy with myself, intimacy with God. But I've got to be, again, vulnerable enough to say, hey, I miss you. Hey, I'm lonely for you. Sadness. Sadness, when unhealthily expressed, is self-pity. Everyone in this room knows someone who self-pities and has self-pitied, okay? Self-pity is the refusal to say, this thing hurts, and I grieve it, and I'm not going to blame you for it. Self-pity is really close to rage. We're going to talk about rage here in a second. Both do this. When I'm in self-pity, I actually pull you out of your feelings if you're in a relationship with me. So it works like this. You've been in a relationship with someone, they've complained, everything goes wrong for them, nothing ever works, woe is me. You then go into caretaking mode, yeah? You end up like, oh, it's going to be okay. No, really. And then you sort of just keep showing up for them, and they keep kind of bringing you in their self-pity, and you're not able to actually stand in the truth of what it is you feel. Why? Because you're taking care of them. Self-pity draws people out of their feelings if you're not aware of it. They'll draw you out of your truth and your feelings so that they can be tended to. That's not processed sadness. That's an avoidance of sadness. Healthy sadness looks like acceptance, which looks like grief, which looks like tears. I don't have the thing that I want. I don't have the relationship anymore. That chapter ended. This person passed away. I've got consequences for my actions. Whatever it is, it hurts, and I've just got to feel it. It's only through feeling it that I'm able to come to the place of acceptance. You read the book of Psalms. There are some Psalms that are just Psalms of lament. And David's not looking for a way out. The psalm writer's not looking for a way out. He's not self-pitying. At times, he kind of verges on it. He pulls the plane up before he crashes, though. He's really just saying, this hurts. It's not what it needs to be. And then you sit with that, and the irony is the longer you sit with it, the quicker it goes away. Anger. Okay, people get anger and rage, which is actually not up here, but I'm going to talk about it, mixed up. Anger is passion. Don't think about anger in terms of rage. Anger's passion for something. We need anger. A lot of people are in crappy relationships, crappy jobs. They have not found sobriety. They have not been honest about their need to hit rock bottom. Why? Because they're not angry enough for themselves. I'm not talking about being angry at someone else. I'm talking about being angry for yourself. Do you have enough anger for yourself? Can you say, I want different? The civil rights movement, I live in Memphis, Tennessee, capital of the civil rights movement. Guess how that happened? Anger. We're not going to be treated this way as a people anymore. You get out of toxic relationships, why? Anger. You get healthy because of anger. You say, I'm making a move, I don't want to work this job anymore, I want to pursue a dream because of anger. Healthy anger looks like passion. There are a lot of people who need to be like, wake up. There's some sort of fire in you that's been doused. Let's ignite that thing again. You have got to find some kind of passion again for your life. A lot of us were told in our childhood homes not to do anger, right? We're around large energy people. We're around ragers. We're around people who mishandled anger, and we're scared of that anger, but it's healthy anger that allows you to change. Now, unhealthy anger, what happens when I don't pursue that dream? When I stay in that relationship? When I don't have anger for myself? A really interesting thing happens. Pride and depression. Depression literally means to press something down. Find somebody who's depressed, and you'll find somebody who's lost a passion or a dream in one area of their life or another. There is something that's been tamped down that needs to be reawakened. There's also this weird thing that happens with those who don't actually feel their anger. They'll almost hide behind this ego, sort of high sense of self that says that thing's beneath them, or they don't want to sort of risk loss, or they want to embarrass themselves, because anger and passion, it's risk. I mean, that's potentially embarrassing. Like, when you really go for something, that's a vulnerable thing. It's much, much easier to sort of hide behind the mask of ego and say, I'm not going to bother with that. Like, if I don't think I'm going to be good at it, I won't even try it. That's almost always a sign of someone who doesn't have a close relationship with their own anger. Fear. Now, here's where the rage comes in. Fear has a place. When I feel fear, and I'm in touch with it, I'm going to go to one of two things, wisdom or faith. If you said to me, Corey, the doctor has called back and the test results are not good, that fear is going to lead me to faith. I'm going to cry out to my higher power, right? I'm going to realize I cannot solve this. This is beyond me. I need help. I'm also going to start asking for advice. I'm going to seek wisdom. When I'm scared, when I'm at a crossroads and I don't know what to do, I'm going to ask you and you and you, what do you think? Like I need counsel here. But when I don't process my fear, when I don't know that I'm even afraid, I will always default to anxiety. Now, anxiety is fear that has not been sort of expressed in an appropriate way. It's this kind of embodied energy that seeks control. It's very invulnerable. Anxiety, someone who's eaten up with anxiety is generally a very invulnerable person. Fear is vulnerable. Anxiety is invulnerable. But it seeks to control everything around so that I don't have to feel what's going on in me. Rage also comes from fear. So when someone's scared, they get big. When someone's scared and they don't know how to sit with that fear, they will get large to back that threat off. If you've known a rager, if you are a rager, it's not because you're angry, it's because you're scared. You don't want to feel that vulnerability. You don't want to feel small. The only way you know what to do is to get big, to somehow overcompensate for the fear. Shame. This is a big one. This is the one thing we say we don't do. There is a place for shame. I think the one thing we don't do here at Free is toxic shame, right? Contempt. Healthy shame, though, is humility. Healthy shame looks like admitting my limitations. Like if you said, Corey, can you play basketball like LeBron James? I sure can't, right? I don't have to have shame around that. I just can't. But maybe he can't do some things I can do. I'm not as smart as that guy. I'm not as good looking as that guy. I'm not as successful as this person over here. But I do have things going for me. Like that's not shame. That's just honesty about self-limitation. We don't want to be too big. We don't want to be too small. We sort of work right there in that healthy middle. Like I'm just human. There's a degree of humility that I think speaks to like what healthy shame can look like. Guilt. When I tell the truth about my guilt, I can experience freedom and forgiveness. I did a thing. Shame is I am a thing that's bad. Guilt is I did a thing that's bad, right? Guilt, if I tell the truth about it, leads to forgiveness and freedom. Like, I got to own that. Maybe you can forgive me for it. Once I tell the truth about it, I feel free. But if I don't process that guilt, it goes one of two directions. It goes straight to toxic shame, which is I am a bad person. Like guilt, when you don't tell the truth about the things that you're doing that need to be spoken of, admitted to, they kind of pile up. And it goes from that I've done a bad thing to I am a bad person. And the other thing that happens is guiltlessness. My teenage years were really, really rocky. I got into a lot of trouble, and I did not feel safe. Grew up with a lot of shame, a lot of toxic shame, a lot of contempt. And I did not feel safe to say, I did this thing and I feel terrible about it. That did not feel like a safe option for me. That was never modeled for me. No one in my family ever admitted they did anything wrong. Like, I don't remember anyone ever in my probably the first 20 years of my life, honestly, saying, you know what, I messed up. I never heard that. So I did not have the ability to sort of say, man, I did that thing. I don't know why I did it. I wish I hadn't. I feel terrible about it. To keep myself really alive, I just shut off guilt. Unexpressed guilt can lead to shamelessness or guiltlessness, which is like, I'm just not going to feel it. I'll keep doing the things that cause the guilt, but I'm not going to tell the truth about the guilt. That's what unprocessed guilt can look like. And then here's the one that everyone's like, oh, there's one positive one. Well, not necessarily. Gladness has an impairment too. And we, most of the time, experience the impaired version of gladness. Gladness is sensuality without heart, or pleasure without heart. Like, there's a difference between a meaningful relationship and a hookup, right? Both might make you glad in a way. There's a difference between sipping a coffee with a friend and getting completely crap-faced, right? Because you're just, deep in your addiction. You may think the former makes you, or the latter makes you glad, but it's really just a sensual experience with no real heart. You're not fully in that, right? True gladness is not gladness without pain. There's some pain to it, but true gladness recruits all of you. I'm all in with true gladness. True gladness looks like joy with sadness. You ask, like, why sadness? If it's like true gladness, why would there be sadness? Here's why. The things that bring us joy, if they actually bring us joy, absolutely must bring you sorrow or have the potential to bring you sorrow. If you truly care about it, and if it has the ability to bring you joy, it can also break your heart. Think about every relationship that you're close to or that's close to you. Think about how much joy they can give you. And think about the power they have to hurt you. Think about the moment that you were the most happiest on the planet, where you felt deep joy, deep presence. If I were to ask you, well, is that happening now? Are you there now? You'd say, no, it passed. There's some sadness with that. But the two are linked. For me to feel real gladness, there's always the possibility of joy. Because that thing that brings me so much joy, it won't last. But that's genuine gladness. Here's my belief. I cannot answer the question of what's going on in me. I can't find you in your story. I can't, the question of Genesis 3, where are you? I cannot begin to answer unless I have a grasp of this. There's no spirituality without emotionality. There's no spirituality or growth without knowing what's actually going on in you and your ability to articulate it. And once we can express what's going on in us, once I can name those feelings, then I can move to needs, right? If I can tell you I feel fear or anger or shame, then relationally I can go, well, what do you need? I just need to feel the sadness. You're lonely, what do you need? I need relationship. You're angry, what do you need? I got to make a change. And then from need, we can go to a full-hearted life, like an integration of choice. Other people to help us out, relationship. But it all starts with, what is it that's going on in me? There's one text that I think shows this really, really well. There's all kinds of passages in the Bible that I think speak to this. But one of my favorites is 1 Kings 19. Let me sort of set it up as Matthew pulls it up here. You may be familiar with this. This passage is the prophet Elijah, who in the very chapter before this, chapter 18, did this phenomenal thing where he's squaring off against these other false prophets. He calls down, just read 1 Kings 18. It's like something out of it's wild. It's like a Ridley Scott film. He calls down fire from heaven, burns these other prophets and their idols and all this kind of stuff. He's the man. And then all of a sudden, in 1 Kings 19, he's told that there's this Queen Jezebel, who's going to kill him. And he's, for whatever reason, we could talk about it, sinks into fear and depression. And what happens right before we get to this passage is he's eaten up with this fear and depression, the sadness, the shame, the low after the high. Never in the text does he talk about it. He's got a servant with him, and here's how the text goes before we get to this part here. He tells his servant, you stay here, I'm going to go on into the wilderness. So he isolates. Never asks for help, never says, again, what's happening in him. Tells the servant, I'll take it from here. He goes into the wilderness, enters a cave, and it's pretty clear once you read the chapter, he really goes to commit suicide. I'm not coming out of this cave. I'm done. So God shows up in 1 Kings 19. And God shows up and says, what's going on? What's happening? Again, God knows the answer to this question. This is for Elijah to come to. So this is the passage I want to look at. So the word of the Lord came to him. What are you doing here, Elijah? Again, God knows. But does Elijah know? Do you know? Let's just sort of pause there. Do you know what you're doing here? Do you know what you're doing in that relationship? Do you know what you're doing spiritually? Do you know what you're doing relationally? Do you know what you're doing in those blind spots or areas of your life that's hard to be honest with yourself? And what are you doing, Elijah, he says. He replied, I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. By the way, it's an angel of the Lord that's speaking to him here. That's why he's talking about God third person. My people have rejected your covenant. They've torn down your altars. And he says, I'm the only one left, and they're trying to kill me too. Folks, this is self-pity. Woe is me. I did all this stuff for you, and look where it got me. I'm all alone. I showed up for you, God. You didn't show up for me. There's sort of this tacit contract I thought I had, and I'm all alone. Look what the angel says. Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Now, what's about to happen is what this passage is known for. He tells Elijah to go stand at the entrance of this cave, and then there's a powerful wind that tears the mountains apart, but the Lord wasn't in the wind. There was an earthquake. The Lord wasn't in the earthquake. There's a great fire. The Lord wasn't in the fire. And then all of a sudden, there's a whisper. And that was God's voice. Now, let me show you what's not in the passage here. Right before this, when the angel first shows up, before the angel says, where are you? What are you doing here? And then I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to speak to you in a way that you can't expect. I'm going to whisper to you. Right before that, the angel says to Elijah, wakes him up, because he's gone there to die. And he says, what are you doing? Elijah's like, I'm quitting. And the angel doesn't preach at him. He doesn't shame him. He doesn't say, read more scripture. He doesn't say, get more obedient. He says, take a nap and here's some food. The angel asks him to rest, tells him to rest, and gives him food. And then Elijah goes to sleep. Elijah wakes up. The angel says, here's more food. Take another nap. The takeaway here is a nap and a snack will always, it's never the wrong answer. So Elijah is cared for, right? He's simply met. Elijah doesn't know what's going on in him. He's being run by his unprocessed, unidentified feelings. He's in depression. He's in fear. He's in sadness. He's in apathy. He's in self-pity, and those things are running amok in him. They are controlling behavior. Your unprocessed feelings will always dictate your behavior, determine your behavior. He doesn't know what's happening here, so here's what the angel does. Here's what God does with us. Can you just chill out and sit? Can you be? Can you return to yourself in your body? If that means take a nap, take a nap. If that means eat a snack, eat a snack. Can we recenter? Can you pause long enough to figure out what's happening here? And once you've done that, I'm going to speak to you, but I'm not going to speak to you in a way that you might expect. I'm going to speak to you with gentleness. I'm going to speak to you in a whisper. And then Elijah's reset. Like he's actually had a moment to locate himself, to internally and spiritually answer that question of where he's at. Then he's able to sort of continue. Knowing where you are in your story, knowing how to find yourself, knowing how to answer the question, what are you doing here? What's going on in you? Where are you? All depends on your ability to figure out what's happening here. Is it controlled by what was going on in my parents? Is it controlled by what's going on with those around me? Or am I aware? Am I sovereign enough over myself to be able to check in and know what's happening here so that I can then step out into my need? The song I chose for tonight, because the theme is really about returning to oneself, knowing oneself, finding oneself. And this song might be one of my favorites in terms of what it means to feel like you've lost yourself or maybe never had yourself, and expressing a desire, a loneliness for oneself, a desire to find oneself again. Thank you.
ever played that one here before. That's a good one, right? Can you guys do me a favor and give Corey another round of applause, because that was amazing. Thank you for being here. For those that are new, you should know that every Saturday, the second half, what we do is we invite a community member up into the living room to share a little bit of their story. I'm really excited for you guys to meet her tonight. I have known her, and I love talking to her about her spirituality and like her journey with God. And I will just jump right on into it, and I will ask you guys to please help me welcome Lena up to the living room.
Hi, everybody. Whoa.
I know, it's really bright up here. I think people think that we joke every week how bright it is, but it's pretty bright up here.
Pretty bright up here, yeah.
I want to jump into your story. I say this frequently, that I think addiction is one of the least interesting things about you. So I kind of want to, like, you can see, everyone can read that, yes, she has been sober since 2021. I think that's amazing, right? Your recovery journey. But I would really rather focus on a different part of your story, if that's okay. Because I know we have a lot of loved ones here, and so sometimes they may not be seen in the story if we only talk about the addiction piece, and they may feel that there's, I don't know, some like emotional connection that they don't get to truly feel. But this one, I think that I would be surprised if there people are in here who don't experience that. So let's talk about what happened when you were about 4.5 years sober. You were working your program of recovery. Things were fine. Like you reached, a normal level of substance, substance-free lifestyle, but you noticed that something was missing. Can you talk to us a little bit about what was going on in your story and what was going on in your life?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. So I love the recovery journey. I think it's beautiful, but it's said all the time that like our addiction, alcoholism was but a symptom of what was going on. And when I was a little kid, my drug of choice was sugar, and I'd hide in my room and binge sugar. And so at about 4.5 years sober, I think it started about 3.5, but at 4.5, I was like, okay, just giving this to God doesn't feel like enough. Like, okay, God, I'm going to give you the sugar, and I'm going to give you the TV watching, and I'm going to give you the shopping. I'm going to give you all the things that I use to get a dopamine hit, and that I feel eventually block us from God. Like, I think the surrender is so important, and that's such an incredible part of the recovery journey with addiction, but that surrender kind of continues as we continue on this journey. And it's like, am I willing to give up everything that I use to feel better so that I can actually feel what's present for me?
And how do you identify that, right? Like, so if you're, and you were telling a story one time when you were talking about like sitting on the couch and realizing that you can watch TV to numb, you can eat to numb, you can shop to numb. There's so many things that we can do that have nothing to do with like putting a substance in our body. How do you actually recognize, and similar to what Corey was talking about, how do you have that awareness of what is happening inside of you and what you're actually trying to numb from?
Slow down.
But how do you do that? Like, it sounds so great.
For me, I tend to be more somatic, but somatic feelings in the body. And so I like to get still, and I'll ask like, hey, what's going on here? And I think I shared with you the story where I was like watching all this TV, and then when I work, I'm gone. I travel for work, so like my home can get a little disarrayed and cluttered, and I was like watching all this TV, I was exhausted, and I went in the kitchen, and I was like so mad at myself about the mess I saw in the kitchen. I started to get into shame, like, look how bad you are at taking care of yourself. Like, oh my God, that statement itself is like, oh, ouch, And so I kind of was like, okay, hold on. That's not how God talks to me. That's not what God's doing. And so in that moment, I got really still, and I was like, okay, what's one thing you can do to make the circumstance a little better? And so like I took some things, like I had unpacked my travel cooler, and I like started to put it away, and I put some things away, and I was like, that's enough. Like, that's enough for now. So I think that it's that gentleness, right? It's like we come into the recovery journey with this like, oh my God, I need to change my behavior because it's killing me. And then there's a point where it has to be just all grace and God's love, because it's like, I need to be able to be as loving as myself with myself as God is with me. And I think that's really important.
And I don't know about you, but I know that like for me, I want to fix all of the things all at once. So like my house, right? I want everything to be clean like right now, instead of realizing that one plate I cleaned and put away, like that's enough for today. How did that?
And I was exhausted. Like I was so exhausted. Like, you know, it's like, why do I expect myself to be perfect? I mean, that itself is its own repetitive, you know, toxic thinking. It's tied with shame. Like there's no perfection, you know, and it's like the softer I get with myself, like then I feel the most aligned with God. Because I remember thinking like God's not, like I sometimes like to imagine God like way up there looking down on me, running around in my little life. Like I literally, like I can see God looking down on me, running around on earth, like trying to do things. And like God sees me as a 5-year-old trying to handle life. He's like, good job, little one. I see how much you're trying to do this, you know? Like I really get this vantage point of feeling that soft tenderness of like, look how much you're struggling for no reason.
He's like, baby girl, you just need a nap and a snack.
You need a nap and a snack. I do. I definitely do.
We've talked about it before on, like, I know I've mentioned a lot of times when I'm the one doing the interviewing, I love to talk about ACA and like, and your journey in that. For people who are out there who may have no idea what we're talking about, can you talk to us a little bit about what that program is? What does it look like and how has it helped you?
So ACA is amazing. I'm super grateful. So I had about 4.5 years of recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. I wanted to go a little deeper, and I felt called to go deeper. And I was originally planning on going through the 12 steps again in Alcoholics Anonymous. And someone suggested I check out an ACA meeting, and they have this thing called the laundry list, which is like a list of qualifiers. And I was like, wow, like I really qualify. And I don't have alcoholism in my family. So like it's not just, it's alcoholic and dysfunctional families, ton of dysfunction. And I recently heard this second laundry list, and I was like, oh my God, like I really qualify, you know? But I love the ACA journey because it's been such a difference from the Alcoholics Anonymous journey, in the sense that like, I feel like in AA, like you wanna jump in and get through the work quickly. Like you wanna get close to God as quickly as possible, because God is what's gonna keep me from drinking. And I feel like ACA has been very different. Like I was sharing with Corey before we started tonight, like I feel like I'm not doing as, I don't feel like I'm being as rigorous as I was in my AA program, and yet like there's so much happening. Like there's these soft openings, and like this like a friend wanting to spend time with me, and that recognition of like, oh, I don't really like how I feel after I spend time with that friend, and learning that like that's what they might call the inner child who's crying out to be cared for. And if I ignore that instinct of like, I don't really want to go there, but my old behaviors are, oh, if someone wants my attention, I'll give it to them. If someone wants to spend time with me, I'll give it to them. Like that kind of caretakering, codependent. I know the word parentification was mentioned earlier. Like I do that in my life, or have in the past, and it's been this really beautiful softening and being gentler with myself, which actually allows me to show up more authentic in the world. So like it's a win-win, but it requires like the courage to be like, let me slow down. What do I actually feel right now? You know? And I can't really slow down and feel when I'm still reaching for all those things to feel better.
And I know we talked about this before too, like a lot of times with 12-step recovery programs, this is a matter of life and death, where it's like, yes, you were trying to like
God.
save
Get
your
to
life,
God.
right?
Yeah.
But then it's like when it comes...
Can be anything, get to God.
Right? And
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is when we dive into like the ACA work and the family of origin work and trying to repair that, coming down, it's not as rigorous. And I know we were joking before where they literally have gentleness breaks built in, where it's like, again, like, baby girl, it's time for your snack. It's time for your nap, right? Like, and so it's a gentle approach where it's
So
a little
much gentler.
softer, but it is still life-saving.
It is still life-saving. And I think that in order to have like I think I think a lot about like the life I see for myself and like the life that God has for me. And there's so much faith in that. And I think that like that gentleness is how I actually get where I want to go. You know, I think it's so critical that there's that softening, because in there, like, faith gets to live. And I feel like God knows what's in my heart. Like, God knows what I want, this idea that I need to, like, and I'm not saying, like, I'm just going to sit back and watch my TV and let God, you know, I'm not saying that, but I am saying, like, there is this, like, really beautiful thing that opens up when I'm, like, willing to pay attention, be guided, and also have faith, you know? And, like, the ACA program, it's like, I feel like in Alcoholics Anonymous, it was like that first building blocks of healthiness and wellness. Like, we get through the steps, we get more well. I get more well. And then I feel like with ACA, it's been this like, oh my gosh, the love piece, like the self-love piece is just like blossoming, because it's healthy interdependence in the world, right? It's like healthy interdependence, not codependence, not in the world with these old coping mechanisms that I learned as a child. I get to start to look at them and unpack them and like really get honest about my behavior in a way that's so much deeper than I first got the experience of when I first got sober. I mean, it's so much deeper. And it's beautiful because like I have these moments where I'll have a really, really creepy nightmare about my family of origin stuff, and I'm like, that was a first. And then I'll be like the next day talking with a coworker about my family and feel like such a genuine love, mutually, like I love him and he loves me, for my stepfather who was abusive when I was a kid. Like this cracking open where I can start to feel real love. I mean, it's like this beautiful thing that's like happening all at once. It's like, I'm like, it's painful and it's beautiful. It's intense and I'm so freaking grateful. It's like all happening at once, but that foundational piece of sobriety was critical. You know, and now because that piece was in place and I did the 12 steps and I got a sponsor and I sponsor other women and I did the deal, now I get to like go even deeper. You know, it's really beautiful.
And I know you're going to stick around.
Yes.
And I know we have ACA meetings here, so I would encourage anyone who is interested. And I also, I don't know if any of you guys had ever done this while you were drinking late at night, like, am I an alcoholic, and like Googling it. I may or may not have done that, but I would also encourage, like, if you actually look up, like, the ACA laundry list, I would just encourage y'all to check it out. You can also Google that, and you can also, I know we have some of their flyers up near the ping pong table, but in closing, to someone who's out there who may be still kind of rushing around and numbing with other outside, TV, sex, relationships, whatever, what would you say tonight as, one piece of hope that it's okay to slow down, and because that can be terrifying. And so like that first feeling of like, I'm safe enough to slow down and actually ask myself, am I okay? What is the first step someone could take?
So I like to get in my body. I like to take a step. I'm wearing a skirt, so I'm going to keep my legs crossed, but I'll often like put both feet on the ground. I'll feel where my butt is sitting. Like I'll feel the chair. I'll take a deep breath. One of my favorite things, I'm just going to put the mic down for a moment so you can see. Oh, look at that. I like to put a hand on my heart, my stomach, and sometimes when I'm like feeling a lot of grief in my life, or just a lot of feelings, like I'll do this laying on top of my bed, and I'll be like, you're okay, I'm here, I hear you, I will never leave you, I'm here. It's one of my favorites.
And that's free, and anyone can do that anywhere.
That's free.
And no one has to see you do that. Like, you can do that alone in your own bedroom, and no one will see
beautiful.
you.
And like I found, like when at different points, it doesn't happen as much as it used to for me, but at times in my history, there's been bigger emotional upheavals. And hey, maybe I'm tuned in for more with this lovely ACA work. But at times I've been going through something really hard. I'll sometimes actually like schedule it for myself. Like I'm gonna go lay on my bed, maybe put on some soft music, touch my hand and my stomach, and just really be present with myself. And I just like, as a gentle reminder, like, and this was my experience maybe about at 3.5 years sober, where I wasn't as like, oh my God, I gotta do all the things, I gotta be perfect in this journey. It was kind of like, God meets me in the stillness. God meets me in the cracks. And like when like that whole idea in the triggers, the treasure. So like whatever I'm resisting, whatever I'm running from inside of me, once I get still enough to be with it, like that opening is such a gift. Like that's where the jewels are, in that opening.
So stick around. She'll be here outside after, but can you guys do me a favor and thank Lena for being up here?
Thank you.
All right, friends, we close each evening the same way we open them, but this time we close them with heartaches. I have two that I would like to, you just flip it up when it's time, two that that I would like to share. One, Gwen, who volunteers in our cafe. She had some health-related issues this week. And so she asked for prayers from the community. So she's recovering from some heart issues. And then also I had someone who tunes in almost every single week, her and her husband, Pam. She informed us, or informed me 2 days ago that her husband, Dan, had died from this disease. So she usually watches every Saturday. So Pam, if you're watching, we are with you. But this is, so again, any heartaches, you guys do not have to carry them alone. If you're watching online, you can drop your heartaches in the comments, and Mark might run back there and read them after. But raise your hand. You have 3 minutes, and this time is yours.
I'll go ahead and start. On Monday, I got home and got a phone call from my uncle that my 49-year-old cousin died of an aneurysm while on the treadmill.
I'm Stephen. I asked last week for prayers for my father's surgery, back surgery. He did make it through successfully, but it's still too early to tell if he'll regain being able to walk. So just continued prayers.
I'd like to, for all of us to keep Allison Clausen in our hearts. She's battling cancer, a friend of mine's wife, and for them and their families, they go through that and their little girl.
I'm Megan, and I'd like to pray for my sisters. They're starting to date, so hopefully they can meet some good people. Thank you.
I'm Josie, and I would like continued prayers for my sister who's still battling alcoholism.
Hey, I'm Lena, and prayers for my dear friend here, Ashley's mother.
I just want to say one last thing. I continue to pray for Judy and Steve. I love you guys so much.
Thank you for that. Do we have...
Should I come around in there?
online? We do not? Can we read them? Mark, do you want to go ask the tech team to read those out loud since I can't?
Yeah, you bet. Okay, first one's from Lindsay B. It says, I wish my son would not run from himself constantly with marijuana, and I want him to find the Lord. So definitely prayers to you, Lindsay. And then the other one is from Travis. Happy sobriety. Can we pray for my son, Jaden, tonight? Thank you for all the support and prayers.
Thank you for that, Mark. Thank you all for being here tonight. And if you are carrying a heartache that you did not share, I would encourage you to find someone. You don't have to leave with those tonight, and you have a community of people around you. And I would like you guys to also know that we do rely on your generous giving. It's every single week that helps us to continue to do what we do here. And you guys should know that there are 3 ways, actually there's technically 4 ways that you guys can donate, but you can go to the app and you can click donate, click down, and it can say one time or reoccurring. You can also go to our website, same thing, click on donate, say, one time reoccurring, and then also just outside of these doors you'll find those little plastic kiosks for checks and cash, and then also right outside the door, that is the 4th way. It's the Kind kiosk. It's the one-tap system, and it's secure giving, and that way, it's just a tap and go. But we are really, really appreciative, both of you just coming here, and also would say that if you cannot financially give, another great option is to go to Google and give us a review and go down and say something, because those do matter. If you're anything like me, I was terrified to walk into this place. So knowing that we're not so creepy when you walk in the door, we're not so mean, or all those things. It's just even those little nice comments. I know you guys laugh, but it's true. And if you read some of those Google reviews, they're not always very nice, but I'll save that for a different day. Sorry, friends. I am going to ask you a favor, my beautiful friends, and I'm going to ask you to come up here with me because you know how much I love you. But I would also like for you to close this out with tonight's prayer, because speaking of ACA and kind of what the work in ACA is, I would like us to close tonight with the ACA prayer. And I'm going to have my beautiful friend Nicole lead us out in this prayer. And if y'all don't know it, you can just read the screen along with Nicole.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me.
Thank you, friends. I will see you all next Saturday.